The Interstellar Academy loomed like a city of glass and steel, its towers reaching beyond the clouds. Within its halls trained the finest minds and deadliest warriors drawn from every corner of the galaxy. Among its many programs, one stood above the rest in both prestige and notoriety: the Crimson Class. This program was infamous. It was made up exclusively of young women chosen for their tactical brilliance, unmatched combat skill, and ruthless drive. They weren't merely students, they were predators in training, feared even by seasoned officers. Every girl in that class carried a reputation that could unnerve anyone who crossed her path. And on that day, a ripple of shock spread across the academy as news broke. A boy had been placed into the Crimson Class. His name was Kale, a human from Earth. No one could quite explain how he'd passed the entrance exams, or why the Academy's board had approved such an unusual placement. Humans were considered the underdogs of the galaxy. Adaptable, yes, but hardly extraordinary compared to species bred for strength, speed, or intellect. To send one boy into the most cutthroat program of all seemed like a cruel joke. As Kale walked through the Academy's gates, he could feel the weight of thousands of eyes on him. Whispers trailed after him like shadows. He won't last a week. He doesn't know what he's walking into. The girls of the Crimson Class didn't bother whispering. They waited for him in their training hall, arms crossed, expressions sharp as blades. Each one radiated confidence, and together they looked like a storm ready to swallow him whole. When Kale stepped inside, his presence seemed to crackle against the charged air. For a long moment, silence reigned. Then one of the girls, tall, scarred, and clearly their unofficial leader, snorted. "They sent us a toy to play with." A ripple of laughter passed through the group, but Kale didn't flinch. He set his bag down, straightened his posture, and looked them all in the eye. And then he smiled. It wasn't arrogance or defiance. It was calm, steady, and unshaken. A smile that said he wasn't intimidated, even if he should have been. The girls exchanged looks, their amusement faltering. They had expected fear. Instead, the boy had met their storm with something unnervingly human: quiet confidence. For Kale, this was the beginning. For them, it was the first sign that he wasn't going to be as simple as they thought. The Academy wasted no time. On Kale's first day, the Crimson Class was sent into a simulation, one designed to break weak minds and test even the most hardened cadets. They were dropped into a virtual war zone filled with shifting terrain, traps, and relentless mechanical enemies programmed to hunt them. The girls leapt into action, moving like predators who had trained together for years. Their teamwork was fluid, their strikes deadly. Kale, meanwhile, seemed like dead weight in comparison. At least that's what they thought. When the enemy bots swarmed from all sides, Kale didn't try to outfight them. Instead, he analyzed their patterns, his eyes scanning every movement, every flaw. He shouted a warning just in time to save one girl from a hidden trap. Later, he redirected another into a position where her blade could disable a swarm in one sweep. At first, the Crimson Class dismissed his efforts as luck. But as the simulation dragged on, they began to notice something unsettling. Wherever Kale was, the team flowed smoother. His timing was precise, his instincts uncanny. He wasn't as fast or strong as they were, but he saw things others missed, the small details, the split-second openings that turned defeat into survival. By the end of the exercise, the class had cleared the scenario faster than ever before. Yet instead of celebrating, they turned their eyes on Kale with mixed emotions. Some glared at him with suspicion. Others studied him more carefully, realizing he wasn't as harmless as they believed. Their leader confronted him afterward. "You think you can earn your place here with tricks and guesses?" she demanded. Kale met her gaze, still calm, still smiling. "Not guesses. Observations. And if survival is the goal, then I'll keep doing what works." Her jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. The Crimson Class had seen his value, even if they weren't ready to admit it. The weeks that followed were brutal. The Crimson Class operated on a culture of dominance. Newcomers were usually crushed until they proved themselves, or until they quit. Many thought Kale would fold. Instead, he kept showing up, enduring every challenge with quiet resilience. When sparring matches began, the girls went at him without mercy. His first fights ended badly. Bruises and blood became part of his daily life. Yet each time he fell, he got back up, adjusting his tactics, learning from every mistake. Gradually, the balance shifted. Kale began predicting their moves, using timing and strategy to hold his ground. He wasn't stronger, but he was patient. He let them exhaust themselves before striking back with precision. In one memorable duel, he disarmed an opponent twice his size using nothing but leverage and timing. That moment changed something. The girls stopped laughing at him. They started watching him. Off the battlefield, Kale's presence continued to surprise them. He listened more than he spoke, and when he did speak, it was never to boast. Instead, he asked questions about their cultures, their traditions, their families. Slowly, he built connections where none had existed before. One by one, barriers began to crumble. The same girls who once sneered at him now found themselves seeking his insight, whether in strategy or in the quiet moments between drills. Kale had turned their hostility into respect, not by overpowering them, but by enduring, learning, and proving his worth. The leader of the Crimson class watched all this with wary eyes. She wasn't ready to accept him fully, but even she couldn't deny that the boy who had walked into their hall smiling was no longer just an outsider. He was becoming one of them. The Academy's final test came without warning. A real attack struck the training grounds. Raiders who had infiltrated the system, seeking to cripple the Academy's future leaders before they could rise. The Crimson class was caught in the chaos. Their instructors scattered. For the first time, it wasn't a simulation. Panic threatened to tear the group apart. The Raiders were ruthless, their weapons live and deadly. But in the midst of the chaos, Kale stepped forward. His voice cut through the fear, calm and commanding. "Form up, left flank. Pressure them toward the ridge. Don't give them space." The girls hesitated only a second before falling into formation. It wasn't instinct that guided them, it was trust. Somewhere along the way, the boy they had mocked had become someone they believed in. Kale led with precision, reading the battlefield the way he always did, spotting weaknesses, predicting movements, turning disadvantages into advantages. The Crimson class fought with their usual ferocity, but this time, their strength was sharpened by his strategy. Together, they drove the Raiders back in a coordinated counterattack that shocked even the Academy's commanders. When the dust cleared, the Crimson class stood victorious. They had faced real death and won. And at the heart of it all was the human boy who had walked into their lives with nothing but courage and a smile. Later, as the Academy praised their triumph, the girls of the Crimson class gathered around Kale. Their leader, once his harshest critic, gave him a nod of acknowledgement. "You're one of us now." Kale didn't gloat, didn't brag. He only smiled, the same calm smile he had worn on his first day. The galaxy had sent a human boy into the most dangerous class of warriors, and against all odds, he had not only survived but earned their respect. And in that respect lay the beginning of something greater than any of them could yet imagine.